Hi, and welcome back to those of you that were able to spend a bit of time with us in the previous session. In this session, we are doing a deeper dive into the specific disciplines and kind of qualifications that we offer. So it's my great pleasure to hand over to Gulam Modak, who is a long-standing commerce colleague with great knowledge of our various programs. He himself has been the head of the College of Accounting historically, so has a real deep understanding of what it is that we offer in the faculty. And we're also delighted to have one of our students with us who will give you some, I suppose, on the ground experience of what it feels to be a student in commerce at UCT. So thanks, Gulam, handing over to you.
Thanks, Suki, and good morning and welcome everyone. As Suki has mentioned, the idea behind this session is to focus on the disciplines within commerce, and broken up the session essentially into two parts. I'll give a high-level overview of our offerings within commerce, and then I will hand over to our student who's currently completing her postgraduate studies, Tara Nguke, and as Suki has said, she will give us an on-the-ground and give you an on-the-ground view of what's happening within the faculty and within the university. Before I head into the disciplines or subject areas or specializations themselves, maybe just a couple of high-level overarching considerations just to reinforce and perhaps to think about. We tend to get lots of questions in these sessions, so if you haven't been able to answer all of your questions, there's a team working behind the scenes who will be responding via the chat. If we haven't been able to respond to those, I think as a faculty we'll all try and make sure that we at some stage post responses to those questions that you can refer back to. But there's also a lot of helpful information on the website, on the Commerce website, particularly in respect of the undergraduate brochure for 2023. Which will give you more guidance in terms of the specific disciplines that I'm going to be speaking about today. And then perhaps if you were in the previous session hosted by our Dean, or perhaps if you weren't, it's just a useful reminder just around the fact that we offer two programs within the faculty, the Business Science and the BCom. And from a application point of view, we ask students to apply either directly to actuarial science or to the BCom or Business Science in another, so the BCom or Business Science within actuarial science, or BCom or Business Science generally, or directly to the academic development program that Daniel Mneni spoke about in the first session as well. But I guess the idea behind that is to say that we understand that there are lots of choices that students are going to be exposed to, and it can be a bit overwhelming. So we've tried to simplify the application process. The other is also to say that even though you're getting an overview of the disciplines that we offer within the faculty today, it's really a high level. We can't do justice. I certainly can't do justice to each of the offerings within each of the departments within the space that we have today. And so if you're thinking about applying to UCT and you're thinking about applying to commerce, get your application in within the deadline, which is the 31st of July 2022. And then also recognize that you will have more opportunity to engage with the faculty. And certainly by the time if you are accepted as a student at UCT in 2023, before you register and finally make your choice around the specialization that you may end up in, there's a week-long orientation. You'll get exposed to and meet with faculty and with staff within the various departments, and they'll give you more insight and may also be able to ask more of your specific questions that you may have closer and closer to the time. The other is, as I work through the disciplines, you'll notice that there's a fair amount of linkage. Some of the stuff may seem similar. And I guess that speaks to perhaps the cohesion and coherence of our offerings. A lot of what we offer within the faculty is centered around the organization, whether that is public sector, private sector, government, NPOs, and really how one, within whichever specialization or field one is, would interface within the organization that one lands up in. Having said that, as much as there is coherence within the faculty and the offerings that we do, doesn't mean we operate in isolation. We are part of the broader university, and again, you know, in some of our disciplines and offerings, we collaborate with colleagues and departments in other faculties, particularly within science, law, and the humanities. And again, I think that speaks to, one, the strength of the faculty itself, in the sense that there is this coherence and cohesion around the organization. And we've tried to design our curriculum in a way that allows flexibility to a large extent for students who maybe start off in something. I started off in actuarial science and then moved to accounting in my second year. So there's opportunity for flexibility within a range. But there's also the sort of cross-faculty collaboration, in the sense that students are going to be exposed to disciplines from other faculties as well. So our focus is not certainly and solely on commerce and business. If you were in the first session, you will remember that the Dean spoke around the fact that we are reinforcing lifelong learning, critical thinkers. We want students, certainly in line with the faculty vision and the university vision, who are going to go out and contribute to society. And so in designing our curricula and designing our degrees, we are cognizant thereof. But to get into the detail of the disciplines, and let's do that now. So the first is accounting. So, and again, as I said, I'm just going to do a high-level overview of these disciplines, give you, I think, for each of these, what I would consider maybe just the sort of key thing, if this is something that you are thinking about, or perhaps if you are unsure, and this can just trigger some thinking within as you try and apply or think about coming to commerce. So accounting, typically accountants produce financial information for operational and strategic decision making. And I think, you know, a lot of students potentially have done accounting at school. You don't need to have done accounting to be able to do accounting at university. It is very different. Typically, I think if a student has done accounting at school, a lot of what that focus is at a school level is on bookkeeping, and certainly looking at an accounting within the organization itself. So it's very internally focused. Whereas from a university point of view, you know, we're looking at producing financial information for a broader range of stakeholders, many of whom are external to the organization. I think also historically, accountants are very much focused on, or there's a view that accountants are very much focused on sort of, you know, counting the numbers, having oversight on the flow of money, and that is true. But we're also seeing increasingly that accountants are having to make decisions within a broader context. So certainly this idea of producing financial information, one thinks about it from an organization's sort of contribution to society, as certainly in producing that information, accountants are not solely looking at the numbers, but also looking at potentially, you know, what is going to be the impact from a sustainability point of view, from the organization's perspective, but also the role that the organization is playing within society. I think most people who are coming into the faculty wanting to do accounting would probably be looking at the CA track, and that is where most of our students end up. But you know, the other professional accounting designations as well. Wherever you may land, most organizations need accountants, and typically accountants would be involved in financial reporting, tax, management accounting, decision making, auditing, and corporate governance. The next is actuarial science. I mean, risk is, if you're an organization these days, risk management is a key issue. It's high on the agenda of boards of organizations. And this is to a large extent where actuaries play an important role. Actuaries evaluate uncertain future events and financial risks. And so they do this with statistics, mathematical modeling. Actuaries can't predict the future, but they can certainly, using their tools, provide management and the organization with enough information to be able to optimize decision making in an uncertain and increasingly uncertain environment. And again, typically if one thinks about actuaries, most actuaries end up in insurance, pensions, investment, healthcare, and risk management. Similar to, so if one looks at both accounting and actuarial science, the offerings for both BCom and business science for both of these specializations or degrees are quite rigid. And that to a large extent is because there are professional accreditations that need to be met. And so again, from a university and faculty point of view, I mean, we do pride ourselves on our relationship in actual science and within accounting in terms of the relationship between the university and those professional bodies. And then, as I said, with accounting as well, again, within the actuary, perhaps there's this traditional view of what an actuary does, but actuary is also increasingly more aware of the sort of tools that they are using and putting out there, but particularly, how those interface with making sure that the organization is sustainable. Next is quantitative finance, which is if one looks at where quantitative finance sits, it sits very close to actuarial science. So it is a specialization within actuarial science, in the sense that it draws on the statistics and mathematical modeling, but it also incorporates and integrates with finance. And then here the application would be in investment and financial industries. So to a large extent, it's taking those tools to be able to deal with uncertainty and future events, but focus that within the asset management sort of industry, looking particularly at portfolios of investments. So career options here would include investment banking, derivatives trading, and quantitative asset management. So if you're thinking about quantitative finance, you'd be looking at, from a careers perspective, typically ending up within treasury or risk management within a financial institution. The next is analytics. And I think everyone understands just the role of big data at the moment and just the volumes of information that is out there. And certainly if you were doing analytics, you'd be looking at analyzing, modeling, and interpreting large volumes of data. So from an analytics point of view, you sort of focused on using statistical tools integrated with computer science thinking to be able to make those interpretations. And analytics would be one of those specializations where I spoke earlier, where commerce collaborates, in this case, with the science faculty. And here graduates would be looking at roles as data analysts, statisticians, data scientists, anything that's really looking at being able to do statistics and interpret and provide guidance and information to organizations in terms of the implications for those statistics in terms of the decisions that they make. Economics. Economics tries to understand the complex relationship between individuals and institutions in society. So if you think about what economists are tending to do, is trying to integrate and incorporate how consumers, governments, private, public sector organizations operate. And again, I mean, I think, we all have a role to play and have a desire for big ideas such as alleviating poverty, tackling unemployment, but typically economists are the ones at the coalface, would be providing governments and organizations input around the policy decisions that they may be making to specifically tackle those issues. So typically within economics, graduates work within the public and private sector, things within central banking, policy making, trade, national accounting, a lot of research within the public, private, and NGO space. Next is finance. So finance is all about sourcing, allocating, and investing funds, and again, providing guidance around making financial decisions. And again, here graduates would go within investment management, fund management, corporate treasury, or analysts. So I spoke about quantitative finance earlier. The difference between quantitative finance and sort of traditional finance would be that if you were in the quantitative finance route, you'd be more focused on the sort of modeling and statistics and mathematic aspect of it, whereas finance would be sort of more the drawing on that, but you wouldn't necessarily be doing the modeling yourself, but you'd be looking at how those valuation tools can inform the sort of finance decisions that the organization may be making. Next is computer science, and I think everyone again has an understanding that this is big at the moment, particularly as the world becomes more digitized, as the digital economy grows, as we become more connected, just digitally. So computer scientists are typically most involved in the sort of creation of computer software using programming languages. So machine learning, AI, computer scientists are at the coalface of that in terms of designing the code that sits as the sort of operating systems underpinning most of the interfaces applications that we use. So typically graduates here would be involved in software development, applications development, systems, and as a systems analyst and as a programmer. And again, computer science is one of those disciplines where we are collaborating it's a collaboration between the commerce and the science faculty. So within commerce, we offer the business science, specializing in computer science. We also offer the BCom, specializing in information systems and computer science. And perhaps if you are thinking about computer science, you may be asking, well, science offers computer science, commerce offers computer science. What's the difference? The main difference, certainly, if you were thinking about doing computer science within commerce, is that as a specialization by itself, it's offered within the business science degree. And so there, the main difference between our offering and the offering in science is there are two things. One is that within commerce, it's a blend of the sort of scientific discipline, but we're also incorporating a lot more of the commercial subjects. So there would be an integration between computer science within the context of business. So you're doing a lot more commerce subjects than the students in science would be. And then the other would be that if you were doing the business science, which is a 4-year degree, and typically, and certainly within the case of the BBAS computer science, it would be essentially the equivalent of the undergraduate BSc in computer science, as well as an honours in BS, the honours in the science faculty. So those would be the two main differences if you're trying to compare computer science within this commerce faculty and the science faculty. Information systems, so if computer scientists are doing the programming and designing the code, information systems are making the interfaces work. I mean, most of us don't understand code. We would not be able to work with that, but to make the applications work, that's where the information systems analyst steps in, to be able to take all of that coding and make sure that that provides solutions that make life easier. If you think about just certainly over the last 2 years, just the heavy reliance on the digital economy, access to applications, a lot of our ability to be able to access that is because of the work that the information systems analysts or the information technologists do. And so if you think about within the context of human development, information systems plays an important role in terms of making sure that as a layman, as someone who doesn't have any insight as to how any of this stuff works, that I'm able to use the application because the information systems person has been able to make that interface user-friendly. So graduates typically would be working as a business analyst, systems designer, project manager, and solution architect. Law, again, one of these cross-faculty collaborations. Having understanding of legal matters is increasingly important as we become more connected. So from a law perspective, if you think about, again, from an organization's perspective, interfaces with human capital, other organizations, governments, cross jurisdictions, law is important and understanding thereof is important. So again, if you're wanting to go down the law route within the faculty, within the BCom, we offer a double specialization, accounting and law or economics and law. And then within the business science, we offer a business science specialization within the law. With the idea then, if you want to continue on the legal route, you could then go on, providing you've met the requirements of the law faculty, onto the 2-year postgrad within the LLB, within the law faculty. And then as depending on what your aspirations may be, you may end up as an attorney, as a lawyer, you may end up working in public practice, or you may end up in an organization, providing legal advice within the organization as it navigates the legal minefields out there. Next is marketing. So again, if you think about most of any business from a revenue point of view, understanding consumer needs and trends, marketers play an important role. And again, if you just think about where we are at, the sort of generational trends, the digital economy, how the world has changed over the last 2 years, marketing becomes an important discipline within being able to guide organizations as they try and understand and respond timely to consumer needs and trends. So you're looking at product management, brand managers, public relation management, customer relationship managers. Those are the sort of roles that marketing graduates are involved in. The next is organizational psychology, and this is really the sort of psychology of work, understanding that most organizations understand and recognize that human capital is important. So what role, how they interface and roll out structures and changes within the organization, how that can be done in a way that everyone's working together, and how they can do that effectively. So organizational psychologists or graduates typically looking at change management, employee relations, learning and development, human resource management. And again, like economics, organizational psychology is one of the sort of disciplines that straddles both commerce and humanities as well. And then the last one is management studies. And this is really within the BCom. We offer specialization within management studies, which is probably the most flexible 3-year program that we offer in commerce. The idea here is that there are some core courses that students would do, but we also offer a range of electives, which allows students to be able to sort of design their curriculum as best as they're wanting to be able to do within certain parameters. And those courses could be courses that we offer or courses that other faculties offer as well. So these are the disciplines within the faculty. Lots to think about, and hopefully again you can go back to the website, look at the brochure, and try and unpack these more, or again connect with faculty. But now I'm going to hand over to Tyra, who will give you more insight as to a student experience within the commerce faculty at UCT. And I'm also going to stop sharing my screen so that you can see Tyra.
Hello everyone. I think I'm seen. I think you can see me. Okay, great. Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Tyra, and I've been asked to speak to you guys about like my experience at UCT and how everything has gone. So I'm just going to go through a few points that I've been getting to touch on. So the first thing is what made me come to UCT. Definitely my parents' influence. My parents went to UCT, so they're UC alumni. So they definitely pushed me to going. But the bigger reason why I decided UCT was because I thought it was the best environment for me to grow, like personally. I went to high school in Stellenbosch and I was in boarding school. So I kind of wanted to challenge myself and put myself in a different environment. And I thought UCT was the best place for that. Of course, UCT is also well known around the world. So if you're thinking of going overseas, having UCT on your CV is definitely like an advantage. So yeah, that's definitely the three things that really made me come to UCT. And so I studied a business science. I did the finance and accounting. And currently I'm doing my postgrad in accounting. So I'm doing the CA route. And what made me decide studying finance and accounting was definitely the fact that I always knew I wanted to be in commerce, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to go more into the finance side or if I wanted to go into more of the accounting. So the business science, finance, accounting kind of like touches on both, and I didn't have to make a decision right there and there in first year. But it's also important to realize that, of course, except for if you're AXI, you get in for commerce, you get in offered into the whole faculty as a whole. So during orientation, there are a lot of talks around like the different disciplines, just like Goodman has just done, and you can kind of talk to students who have done those degrees, and you can kind of see which one you want to do, and then you can decide from there. So I think it's important to note that right now you might be feeling like a bit stressed out about, okay, what am I going to decide? There's so many. During orientation, there's a lot of talks. Orientation leaders, I'm an orientation leader, there's a lot of talks around, okay, this is what's best for you, because that's the end goal, is what is best for you, not what your parents might want you to do. So I think that's very important. But other ways I kind of decided I wanted to do CA route. Specifically, I kind of gradually decided through doing vacation work, there's also career services at UCT that allows you to kind of, it's like a platform for where you can go to many talks. They talk about like, okay, the different careers that are out there. So definitely going to those things and also talking to people who have done the CA route, kind of maybe decide, okay, CA, SA is where I want to be. So like I would encourage, if you have people around you who and you know what you kind of want to do, talk to those people that are doing that thing so you can see if it's for you. Why I decided to do the business science degree instead of BCom, I think I touched on it a bit already, is definitely because I wasn't really sure in first year where I wanted to put myself in. So I thought that business science was more of like well-rounded, kind of like it didn't force me to kind of make a decision there and there. But also the business science also has, like I might be biased because I did it, but it has that competitive edge in my opinion, because there's people management, there's also emphasis on strategic thinking. So I felt like that's kind of more the things I'm more interested in as well, not just the numbers, but also like critically thinking. So yeah, business science is the way I went. What surprised me about joining the commerce faculty was definitely the support available. I think one thing you'll always hear when coming to university in general is that, okay, university, you need to be independent, you're on your own. And as much as that is true, that kind of made me think, okay, there's not going to be anyone there to support me through the things, but that's not the case at all, because the commerce faculty especially has a lot of resources and people there that want to help you. There's the Commerce Student Council. You can kind of think of them as like the prefects of commerce. You kind of like speak on our behalf if you're too scared to go to a lecturer, if something's bothering you in the faculty as a whole. There's mentors, there's also the lecturers. As much as we might think they don't want to help, they really do want to help and be there for you. So yeah, there are a lot of avenues you can go through. So that's definitely one thing that surprised me. There's also student wellness. So student wellness is, all faculties have it, or have access to it. And you can get access to it on the like UCT app, where it's so simple, where you can just go in the app, and if you feel like you may need help, whether it's physically or mentally, you might be struggling, student wellness is there for you. You can book a consult. It's very easy. I actually was doing it, like checking this morning, and it's actually very easy to do it. So very accessible. So that's also there. So definitely there are people here who do want to help you, because it can be a very stressful time in your life, university as a whole. So what I would suggest the applicant find out before deciding the degree option, I think definitely researching what that degree you're thinking of doing can do for you, and kind of realizing that the world is very fast changing, as we all know. You can see things are changing so quickly. So kind of see, okay, this is the degree I want to do. What can I do with it in this fast changing world? I think is very important to research and see. But also, again, don't stress about, okay, I need to know I'm doing business science, finance and accounting, because orientation really is just like a 2-week thing where we talk to you and you really guide you into see where you fit in the commerce faculty. Yeah, so what would I like to know? Oh, what do I like doing when I'm not studying? Sorry. Okay, so definitely being with family and friends. You'll see, like being at university, there's not a lot of time to kind of do that. But once you do have time when you're not studying, definitely spending time with family and friends, that's what I like doing. Also experiencing Cape Town. I mean, Cape Town is so beautiful. I feel like there's something for everyone here, whether you like going out with friends, whether you like hiking, whether you like the beach. So when I'm not studying, I definitely try to experience Cape Town as much as possible, kind of take advantage of the fact that, okay, I'm here, let's, do the kind of tourist things, but also, of course, always remember why you're at university, you're here for the degree, so don't forget that to the back of your head. But yeah, take advantage that you're in Cape Town. I mean, it's a beautiful city. So I've been asked to also give pointers on residence at UCT. So I was at Res the first 3 years of my university life, and I was, they call it upper campus res now, which used to be called Fuller. But if you got the opportunity to go to res, I definitely want to tell you to take it with both hands, because it's just a great space for you to grow as a person, whether it's academically, because you'll be with other people also studying together, but also other aspects in your life. You'll definitely grow your independence as well. But yeah, some tips I would give to people who are thinking of going to res or do go to res is definitely being homesick is so normal. So definitely try to create healthy mechanisms to cope with that homesickness. Sorry. Yeah, so whether that is scheduling calls, like I schedule calls with my parents. I'm like, okay, I'm calling you at 7 a.m. Oh, no, not 7 a.m., 7 p.m. tonight, just to like kind of have that constant connection with the people that you love that you might be far away from. Also taking advantage of what res has to offer. There are mentors, there's the house comm, there's the warden, there are people there again who want to be there for you. You just have to show that you need them. So just taking advantage of those things. Also being in a space at res, because obviously there's like, you'll be first year, but there's also second and third years there. There's not a lot of spaces where you'll be able to interact with people from who are like maybe doing the same thing as you, but in like their third or final year. So I think taking advantage of that and realizing that, okay, in res, I'm in this space, I'm able to talk to all the students. Go for it. They want to talk to you. I mean, I did want to talk to the young ones when I was in res. So yeah, definitely taking advantage of that. But yeah, I think closing thoughts, if you do get an opportunity to come to UCT, I'd definitely take it. It's a great place. I've personally grown, not only academically, but emotionally, and just my independence and all of that all together. I'm becoming the person that I've wanted to become, and I do have UCT part of that to thank for that. So yeah, that is what I have to say. I don't know if there's anything I'm missing.
Thanks, Tara. So thanks again for sharing your insights, and particularly because you have a big test week coming up next week, for taking the time to join us on Saturday and share your UCT experiences. But we wish you well and hope that the year goes well and that you write well next week. And then from my side, we just a big thank you again to everyone who's joined us. We are here to help you. If you have any further questions or comments, or get in touch with the Commerce faculty by email or visit the website. But we hope to welcome many students to the Faculty of Commerce in 2023, and we wish you all of the best for the rest of the year. Thank you for attending today's session. That is it from our side.